The year is 1943. During World War II, the Germans have built a special prison camp, Stalag, designed to house prisoners of war who repeatedly attempt to escape. Upon arriving at the new camp, many of the prisoners immediately begin to assess its security and plan their escape. An American prisoner, Captain Virgil Hiltz, played by Steve McQueen, and Scotsman Archibald Ives, played by Angus Lenny, immediately test the possibilities of escape, and they get caught. The men are thrown into the cooler, an isolation cell on the other side of the camp. The prisoners of war group together, and the decisive one begins to make more unified plans to escape from the camp. The group's officer, Captain Ramsey, played by James Donald, meets the German commander who signals the impossibility of escape. SS troops bring squadron leader Roger Bartlett, played by Richard Attenborough, to the camp. Roger is a Royal Air Force officer and therefore under the responsibility of the Luftwaffe, not the SS. An SS officer tells Bartlett that he will be shot if he is caught still escaping. Bartlett is the leader of several previous escape attempts. He discovers that by putting all the problem prisoners in one camp, the Germans have unknowingly created a great escape group. Bartlett makes them all work. Undeniably, different experts start to take evasive measures. Lieutenant Danny "Tunnel King" Walensky, played by Charles Bronson, begins digging, while Lieutenant Bob "Scrounger" Hendley, played by James Garner, begins gathering the materials needed to make everything work for the daring escape of up to 250 prisoners. Other men are assigned to make uniforms, forge papers, and familiarize themselves with the German guards and their ways. Bartlett's plan is to dig 3 tunnels over 300 feet long. 3 because if the Germans find one, there are 2 more available. After a couple of weeks, Hiltz and Ives are released from solitary confinement and meet the others. Hiltz has come up with an idea how to escape and wants to try it. Hiltz and Ives decide to give the idea a try, and they escape that night, but are caught. The next morning, they are back in the cooler. Meanwhile, other prisoners are working on the main escape attempt. Lieutenant Colin Blythe, played by Donald Pleasance, is the forger of the group and works on fake ID papers. Ossie Sedgwick, played by James Coburn, creates tools from scrap metal scavenged around the camp. Lieutenant Eric Ashley Pitt, played by David McCallum, has figured out a way to get rid of all the dirt they're bringing up out of the tunnels. Other men help out in other ways. Some set up gardens where the dirt can spread and they get access to gardening tools that can be used to escape. Some men steal wood and other materials to build tunnels. Hendley specializes in running the black market in the camp, and he befriends a young, naive German guard named Werner. Through Werner, Hendley manages to get plenty of useful material for forging. For example, a camera for Blythe. The tunnels are getting longer every day. Bartlett decides to concentrate all their efforts on one tunnel for the time being. Americans in the camp begin to distill alcohol from potatoes grown in the gardens. On the 4th of July, they surprise everyone with gallons of moonshine. During the party, the guards discover the first tunnel during a routine inspection that day, and men's party quickly ends. Ives loses faith in escape and runs to the fence, where the guards shoot him. Bartlett tells the men to continue quietly on one of the other tunnels. Hiltz decides to escape and get caught so that Bartlett can get map information about the area. He successfully escapes and gets caught, but the Germans put him in the cooler again. The work on the second tunnel continues furiously. The men practice their assumed identities and their German languages. Blythe notices that his vision has been significantly deteriorated. He is going blind. Danny admits to his friend Willie, played by John Layton, that he is claustrophobic and can no longer dig in tunnels. Willie puts his faith in Danny, and Hendley promises to help Blythe during the escape. When Hiltz is released from the cooler again, the main group is almost done with their work. It's escape night. Everyone is ready, waiting for the escape to begin. Hiltz digs the last few feet up to the surface at the end of the tunnel and cautiously pokes his head out, but he finds they've miscalculated. They're 20 feet short of the woods, and now they must try to sneak across open ground without being seen. In the tunnels, Danny's claustrophobia gets the better of him, and he returns to the hut, though he will escape later. The escape could no longer be postponed, because all the forged papers were recorded for the next day. Hiltz sets up a rope signal from the woods, and men start to enter the tunnel. Carefully timing the passes of the guards, men begin to escape into the woods. During an air raid, the Germans turn off all the lights. During this time, many men manage to escape under cover of darkness. When the lights come back on, they return to the rope signal. Bartlett and Lieutenant Andy McDonald, played by Gordon Jackson, must leave their post at the end of the tunnel if they intend to catch their train. One man stumbles upon exiting the hole, and a guard hears him, though he does not see anything. Due to the situation, the next man in the tunnel does not receive the rope signal, which Hiltz cannot give from the forest until the guard leaves the area. The man impatiently decides to come out of the tunnel, and the guard notices him, thus stopping the breakout. In the morning, the Germans do a head count and determine that 76 prisoners escaped. Guards and police scour the countryside looking for the prisoners. When the morning train arrives at the station, many escaped men are waiting in their disguise and quietly get on board. Others escaped in other ways. Sedgwick, the Australian, steals a bicycle. Hiltz manages to see a trap for a German soldier, steals his uniform and motorcycle. He heads for neutral Switzerland. Danny and Willie find a rowboat and begin rowing downriver. Others follow the roads by walking or hitchhiking. As a day progresses, the Germans manage to recapture many prisoners, one by one. The men on the train discover that the Gestapo and the SS are on board. Bartlett and MacDonald pretend to be French and fool the police. Hendley and Blythe jump from the train instead rather than take the risk. Meanwhile, Sedgwick stows away on board another train. The Germans recognize Hilt at a roadblock and start chasing him. The Germans chase Hiltz, who arrives at the Swiss border. He tries to ride a motorcycle to the Swiss side but fails. The Germans capture him. The first train reaches its destination. Bartlett, MacDonald, and Ashley Pitt disembark to get ready for the next leg of their trip. The SS officer who threatened Bartlett with death at the beginning just happens to be there, and he recognizes Bartlett. Ashley Pitt, realizing what is happening, and sacrifices himself so that Bartlett and MacDonald can escape. Hendley and Blythe, traveling overland, arrive at an air base, ambush a guard, and steal a small airplane. They fly towards Switzerland until the plane develops mechanical problems before they get there, and the plane crashes. Hendley and Blythe are not seriously injured, but German soldiers arrive and shoot Blythe. Hendley is recaptured. Sedgwick manages to reach France, where he witnesses the killing of 3 German soldiers by French resistance guerrillas at an outdoor cafe. The cafe owner agrees to help Sedgwick escape to Spain. Meanwhile, Bartlett and MacDonald, still posing as French, attempt to board a bus for the next leg of their trip. The men accidentally reveal themselves to the Gestapo and they are recaptured. Eventually, most of the escapees have been rounded up by the Gestapo. The Germans take the prisoners back to the camp in trucks until they stop to rest. 50 prisoners walk out into the open field. The Germans shoot all the prisoners. The remaining captured prisoners are returned to the camp, and the names of those murdered are read off in a memorial service. 3 prisoners escape. Danny and Willie eventually reach a seaport in their rowboat and board a ship bound for Sweden, and French guerrillas help Sedgwick to the Spanish border, where another man meets him to guide him into Spain. The commandant of the prison camp is cashiered and taken away in disgrace, and replaced by another officer, punishment for the escape happening on his watch. At the same time, Hiltz is returned to the camp where he is taken directly to the cooler,